Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to having the speech tonight. I'd like to talk about the viol, and first of all, I'd like to ask you who knows what exactly a viol is. One person. Would you like to share your knowledge?
I'm slightly cheating because I only know about it because she told me.
Yeah, basically the viol is an instrument. It's a bit similar to a cello, but it's not a cello. I have to really stress this aspect of the instrument. It looks a bit like a cello, but it has more strings. A cello has 4 strings, and a viol has 6 or 7 strings, and it's not very popular amongst musicians today. And actually, this decline in popularity has started in the beginning of the 18th century. Last week I had the opportunity to give a small talk about the viol in Handel's music, and maybe some of you know George Frederick Handel was a composer who lived in London for quite a while in the beginning of the 18th century, and he used the viol only in 3 of his works, so already then it started to decline in popularity. But there are also some people today who still play it. Usually it's used for old music, starting in the 13th century and then going on to the 18th century. But as well, there's still music being written today for the viol, but that's even more a niche thing than the old music that is written for the viol. I started playing the viol when I was 10 years old, so I play it now 14 years, and people quite often ask me, why did I start playing the viol when it's so unpopular? I started playing it because my mother told me to do it. Actually, I wanted to start playing the violin, but maybe some of you have heard someone playing the violin who's not very experienced in it, and it sounds horrible, so maybe that's why my parents told me not to start playing the violin. That is another difference to the cello or the complete violin family. The viol does have frets like a guitar, so you have an orientation where to put your finger on the fretboard. In contrast to the violin family, there you just have to hear, is the tone right? Do I make the right sound or noise? With the viol it's a bit easier. You have some orientation. You can just say, I have to put my first finger in the next to the first fret, and so you know you're about to start playing the right tone, hopefully. This makes the playing of the viol in the beginning much easier than the playing of a violin or a viola or a cello, for example. But as you move on in playing, as you get better, it starts being a problem as well, because if the fret isn't in the right place, even if it's slightly off, then you have to move it while you're playing, and that can go horribly wrong. And so there you have a very big problem in intonation sometimes. So in the beginning it's quite easy to start, but it gets harder as you move on. Also, there are different composers for the viol and the violin, and so the composers aren't always as popular as for the violin. So it's a niche thing to play the viol, but also can be an advantage, because you're not asked as often as a violin player to play, And for me, who doesn't like playing in front of an audience, that's a very good thing. So I'd like all of you to thank you for listening.